All right, let's get started. We're going to preview the 2020 Notre Dame football season. Try to keep it under 15 minutes just to kind of go through each game, give you a few details, and pick the wins or losses. We're not going to talk about this for an hour or 2 hours.
Yep. Just a nice preview of the schedule, let you know what our thoughts are.
And it's April 29th, so obviously we'll probably try to do as many podcasts and stuff in the fall when we're predicting the games, and they're going to change week to week because teams we're predicting now will be different come the end of the season when we're predicting them week by week. So not going to give any scores. We'll just predict wins or losses. So the first one, Navy, may or may not be in Ireland. We're not going to debate that, whether or not they're playing in Ireland. Irish have won 8 of the last 9 matchups in this meeting. There was a time at the end of the Weiss era that Notre Dame lost a few times to Navy, but Brian Kelly's really taking control of that series.
Yeah. Like you said, in the past, that's been looked at as that's a questionable game. Navy's a tough offense, but I think it's kind of they've overcame that now to where it's a very winnable game every time.
Yeah, like these last 3 seasons, Notre Dame's had a lot of success. Hopefully, they're kind of losing Navy in the past, but last year beat them 52-20. And the thing is, if you guys are watching that game, Notre Dame could have beat them by a lot more. Like they put in a lot of their subs in the second half, and Navy scored a couple cheap touchdowns, and Notre Dame could have even beat them by more. The crazy thing is looking at Navy's record last year, 11-2, and they beat Kansas State in the bowl game. And think about their only 2 losses were at Notre Dame Stadium and at Memphis, who played in the Cotton Bowl and was super good. So, Navy was really tough last year, and Notre Dame really didn't get any credit for the victory against them. I think Notre Dame went off to win like 6 or games in a row, something along those lines. A lot of games in a row after that loss to Michigan. They really never moved up.
Like you said, 11-2. That's a good record. I don't care really what conference you're in, or anything like that. That's a good record as it is. And especially with your 2 losses at Memphis and Notre Dame, it's not like you lost to random teams that ended up the season with 3 wins. It's high quality losses.
Yeah, and first game of the year got Notre Dame going 1-0.
Yep, that's what I got too.
Okay, Arkansas. We do not have any notes on the Arkansas game. No disrespect to Arkansas, but if Notre Dame loses this game, they got bigger problems looking at Clemson and Wisconsin down the road. I have Notre Dame going 2-0.
Yeah, that should be an easy one, 2-0.
And then the next time they play Arkansas is at Arkansas here, like 2025 or 2024, so you won't see them for a little bit. Western Michigan, they don't have P.J. Fleck. Even if they did, I think Notre Dame would still beat them. So I got Notre Dame winning that one 3-0.
Yep, better hope that this isn't the MAC school that goes off every year. There's always one, you feel like. But I think this should be a good win for Notre Dame as well, 3-0.
Yeah, there's always one MAC school that has a good year every year. It seems like they have a lot of seniors or end up being good and make it to like the Cotton Bowl or some big bowl game. There's always one MAC school. Moving down the line, Notre Dame's played Wake Forest a lot. They're playing them at Bank of America where the Carolina Panthers play, so this will be a good neutral site game. A lot of Notre Dame fans on the East Coast. There should be a large contingency there. But once again, I think Notre Dame's going to handle business, and I got them going 4-0.
Yep, I got 4-0 here as well. They need to not lose focus, though. I'd say before the Wisconsin game and that next week, they need to really take care of business in Wake Forest.
Yeah, looking at the Demon Deacons, they're not awful, but they have Dave Clawson's their coach, really good coach there. They went 8-5 last year, but then they did lose to Clemson 52-3. So, Wake Forest is one of those schools who 8-5 might be their peak. So Notre Dame should win that. So I got them going 4-0. And then heading to Wisconsin at Lambeau Field. Top of my bucket list. I already was looking at the other day, 6-hour trip up there. There's no way I'm missing that one. Let's kind of get started on that preview. If you want to, the Badgers last year.
Yeah, so they're 10-4 last year. Pretty solid. They beat Michigan 35-14. It was a big win.
That's compared to Notre Dame, who Notre Dame got destroyed by Michigan. But
exactly.
Yeah, it was hard to compare those because that was early Michigan in the year. And then Notre Dame went there, had their worst game of the year, it was in the rain and stuff. But just a comparison, they did destroy Michigan.
Yep. The Badgers also lost their dynamic running back, Jonathan Taylor, to the Colts. So that'll be interesting how they fill his void.
Yeah, Wisconsin always has those great Melvin Gordon, Jonathan Taylor, several other ones. They always have good offensive linemen. That's the awesome thing about college football is every program's kind of has their own identity. Like Iowa football, they're tough. Wisconsin, they got big offensive linemen, tough running game. USC got the spread offense. Every school's got their own identity, which is really cool. And we know what Wisconsin is. They're going to go in there, think they want it more than Notre Dame. They're going to try to pound the rock. As far as the crowd there, I think it'll probably be about 60-40 Wisconsin fans, maybe a little bit more. A lot of Notre Dame fans are going to be traveling to Ireland, spending tons of money there. So I don't know how many Notre Dame fans will be able to make that trip to Wisconsin too. Plus, it's in their backyard. So the fan base is definitely going to favor the Badgers for a lot of reasons. But named after Curly Lambeau, played football at Notre Dame, kind of during all those Vince Lombardi times, all that historic stuff kind of going on there, all those Packer legends and stuff. So it's going to be a really cool game for Notre Dame football. But won't get on a tangent too much. I have Notre Dame winning. I think it's going to be a really close game. But if Notre Dame wants to be dominant like Ohio State is, Ohio State doesn't lose to like Wisconsin. They beat them. They find ways to win like last year in the Big Ten Championship. So if Notre Dame truly wants to be at that top tier, I have them winning. They'll be 5-0.
So I kind of went a different way here. I feel like it'll be a close game, but at Lambeau, it might be a very tough game for Notre Dame. I have them going 4-1 here, and really the reason being, I mean, Navy's a hard task, but Wisconsin's their first hard task, and I think a lot of this game will be what happens up till then. What does Notre Dame do in their 4 games prior? What does Wisconsin do in their 4 games prior? For a big meeting in Lambeau.
So this is the difference between Notre Dame and some teams. Ohio State's beaten Michigan like 15 out of the last 16 times. Notre Dame's like 50-50 against them. Ohio State, every time they play Wisconsin, they'll find a way to win. Notre Dame, I mean, it should be a close game, but Notre Dame needs to find a way to win these games if they want to be up there with Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, those teams. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think they'll finally pull it up and get 5-0, and then headed into Stanford. Stanford's been on the decline here the last couple years. I mean, early in the 21st century, the early 2000s, you had like Andrew Luck, some of those other guys, Toby Gerhart, and they were really sticking it to Notre Dame. But I think Notre Dame's really taking control of the series. I believe they won three in a row. Stanford did give them a good game in the first half last year. Notre Dame was struggling. Stanford did go 4-8 last year. Notre Dame won 45-24. Like just coming off that Wisconsin game, Stanford always plays Notre Dame well, like a lot of rivalry teams do. But I think Notre Dame wins this and gets to 6-0.
I think this is definitely a win too. Like you said, Stanford's on the decline. Used to be a powerhouse, and I just don't see it that way anymore.
All right, moving on to Heinz Field against Pittsburgh. Pat Narduzzi, known for his defense, he was there at Michigan State during the heyday. They went 8-5 last year, which is solid for the Pittsburgh program, and this is a huge upset alert for Notre Dame. I know I went there back in 2015. I thought it was going to be a big upset, but Notre Dame took care of business. I hope they can do that again. This does have the, like I said, upset alert. We'll see if it's going to be a day game or it's going to be a night game. But Pittsburgh always plays Notre Dame tough. I'll be honest with you, I like their throwback unis. They got that white and kind of like that baby blue now. That old Navy stuff I didn't like that too much. But this has potential to be the upset for Notre Dame. Pittsburgh's kind of slowly building up. But like we've been saying, if Notre Dame's that top-tier team, they should find a way to win this game.
Yeah, I went back and forth on this one. At Pitt, it's a hard one, like you said, and it's going to be probably a low-scoring game, given that they're always good at defense. But I eventually took the Irish from this one. I have faith that they can come out with a W.
I got Notre Dame moving to 7-0, and it is at Pitt. But when I went there back in 2015, I think there were more Notre Dame fans there. Notre Dame was ranked 5th, and they're highly ranked. I had people in the hotel from Canada, all over the East Coast, Boston, New York, and stuff, heading to Pittsburgh, all that kind of Northeast time. So I mean, there'll be a lot of Notre Dame fans there too. So I have Notre Dame 7-0. And then kind of moving on the next one to Duke.
Irish won 38-7 last year, and Duke ended up finishing 5-7. So this year it looks to be an easy win to me. But like once again, you never know what's going to happen up until that point. So Duke could go on a streak of wins, but I see this as an easy win for the Irish.
Yeah. Last year, Notre Dame finally got Duke back for that upset that they beat Notre Dame back in 2016, I believe, when they were having an off year. And this is the first time Duke coming back there since then. So I think Notre Dame should stick it to them again. Like we keep saying, this should not be an upset alert for Notre Dame. I think they'll take care of business. I think they'll move to 8-0. And that's moving into the Clemson game. So we all know Clemson. I mean, we're going to list just a few things. 5 straight playoff appearances. 2 national championships in the past 4 seasons. I mean, they lost to LSU last year, but they gave them a really tough game. Almost the toughest game besides Alabama, but that was in Tuscaloosa. So, I mean, Clemson's projected to be number 1 this year. I haven't looked at their schedule. I think the last time I looked at it, they had the ACC opponents. I don't think they had anybody really tough non-conference. Maybe like South Carolina they play every year. Mm-hmm. But I don't see the reason they shouldn't be number 1 coming to Notre Dame. My prediction for this game, I'll definitely be there. Not trying to be a homer or anything like that. I'll be cheering Notre Dame on. But I do have Notre Dame losing this game just for past precedent on all these games. Notre Dame has not gotten over the hump I'm not trying to be a homer here or anything like that, but I had them going 8-1, losing a really close one to Clemson. And like I was going to say, reminds me a lot of the Notre Dame USC in 2005. I think it'd be really cool if they brought out the green jerseys. Hopefully this is a top 5 battle, but until Notre Dame proves me that they can win these big games, I'm going to put them down for a loss and 8-1.
Yeah, I'll go 7-2 with a loss here. Trevor Lawrence's Heisman campaign is in full swing by this point, so with a healthy Clemson, I just don't see the Irish getting over the hump here.
Trevor Lawrence and ETN, the last couple times Notre Dame's played Clemson, I think it was back in 2015, they went to Death Valley and it went to overtime, then they lost by a couple. Then here a couple years ago, that was in the playoffs, they stuck with him for the first half, and then Julian Love got hurt, and then they picked on the cornerback and scored tons of touchdowns. Even if Love didn't come out, they were still going to lose that game, but they destroyed Notre Dame. This is definitely the one I think this is the one Notre Dame has circled on their calendar. Everyone has Notre Dame circled. This is one of the few ones that Notre Dame actually has circled themselves. They got to win this one to get over the hump, but for now I have them going 8-1, and that's my prediction.
Yep.
And then we got at Georgia Tech. So this is not going to be a true road game for Notre Dame. It's going to be at Mercedes-Benz. You guys might all recognize that as the home of the SEC championship. So Notre Dame's going to be in the kind of the backyard of the SEC there. So they had a 3-9 record last year. They're kind of starting a new era of Jeff Collins. They did have that triple option going on forever, and they're kind of trying to break out of that, which seems like their fan base is really energetic about. So
right, yeah, triple option obviously seems to be something that Notre Dame faces every year at some point. So obviously this has been phased out by Georgia Tech, so they won't see it here. But this would be a very interesting game. Obviously, this is a big question mark. New head coach, no more triple options, complete change. So I see it as an easy win, but you never know. Like I said, up until that point, Georgia Tech could build themselves up.
And then I have Notre Dame winning, so that improves them to 9-1. I mean, this would be a really cool game to go to. That brand new Mercedes-Benz stadium would be really cool. Drive down there. What is your prediction?
I have a win there too, so 8-2.
All right, then moving on down to Louisville. That's who Notre Dame faced at the beginning of last year. Seems like forever since Notre Dame played them. I remember going to that game last year. It was like 82 degrees, and you're just sweating your butt off just in the sun. It was like Labor Day night, and then a couple games into the season, you're freezing your butt off watching college football. But, I mean, they finished 8-5 last year under Scott Satterfield, his first year there. 8-5, I believe, with the bowl win at the end. So they're on the up and up. That was a good first season for him. But I still have Notre Dame win this game going to 10-1. It's in South Bend. So
yeah, that's the big factor I see is it's in South Bend. Louisville is a program. You never knew what they're going to do once Lamar left, but I definitely just see this as a win for the Irish.
And Scott Satterfield, he's one of the best coaches in college football. I believe he was at Appalachian State before this, kind of built that whole program up. Notre Dame won 35-17 last year, but Louisville put up a really good fight. And I believe last year we went to the game, Notre Dame set another attendance record for Louisville, even though there was still a lot of empty seats at Louisville, so another attendance record. But I have Notre Dame 10-1. And then we're moving to the final game at USC. If you want to kind of say what's going on with USC.
Yeah, so USC finished 8-5 last year. Decided to keep Clay Helton. They won 30-27, so that's a close game and something to look at for the last game of the schedule for the 2020 season. They barely won at home, so I feel like that's contrasting differences. You don't really know at USC how it's gonna go out.
Yeah, last couple games against USC have been close. Like I said, Notre Dame only won by 3 at Notre Dame Stadium last year. Should have been a little bit more of that than USC came back. And then the year before when Notre Dame went to the playoffs, it was a close game down to the wire too. So our Notre Dame's biggest rival definitely plays them close. And let's see, like two contrasting differences. It's Notre Dame's kind of more like physical. They do the spread, but they want to pound you, have physical defense, physicality. Thing is, USC is completely opposite. You got the West Coast. That's kind of what makes this rivalry great. You got that West Coast quarterback throwing. You have like 4 or 5 receivers lined up. You have all those St. Brown, all those great receivers that they have there. Who's the Colts drafted? Pittman Jr.
Pittman Jr. Yeah.
So they're throwing the football, spreading you around when Notre Dame wants to be in the box, physical, stop that run first. So it's two contrasting differences, and hopefully this might be the final game for Notre Dame to kind of get their last thing in the playoff push. And I mean, I hope USC's good, so it makes Notre Dame get another quality win. I
have them going 10-2 with a win here, but this is a very tough game at USC for the last game of the schedule. So, like you said, if they're in a position where they can go 11-1, this is a monster game for Notre Dame.
And I understand it, all the tradition and stuff, but it always stinks Notre Dame's last game of the year is on the road. Like, if you're telling me you're 11-0 about to go to the championship game, your last game is going to be on the road to clinch that every year, which I understand USC, they always play them, and Stanford vice versa every other year, but that's a big disadvantage. Like, if you're playing at home or maybe, I don't know, maybe it works against them. Maybe they're not thinking in the back of their head, I'm in front of our fans and stuff like that. But even when it's at USC, I have a lot of friends around LA, and they say that it's like close to 50-50, maybe 60-40 USC fans. So Notre Dame fan base travels well. Getting down to it, Notre Dame, I have them winning this game. I had them going 11-1. Kind of final thoughts on all this. Notre Dame needs to win at least one of their biggest games, maybe two. So they got to either beat Wisconsin or Clemson to get that big win. And that Clemson game is definitely going to remind me of Notre Dame USC 2005. If they can win that, finally get that monkey off their back and get back into the playoffs again, that would be huge. So would 11-1 Notre Dame football team, or Matthew's saying he got 10-2, make the playoffs? If it was like last year, they have a good shot, because some of the teams last year that were trying to get that fourth spot were Oklahoma and Utah and Georgia, all those teams right there. Notre Dame could definitely get it over Utah with the one loss. So if it was like last year, they definitely have a good chance with the 11-1 record. But other times, you never know. If there's 4 or 5 undefeated teams and conference champions, can be tough. But Notre Dame definitely has to be at least 11-1.
Yeah, and like you said, must win one of the two. Obviously, that Clemson one is a bigger win than Wisconsin, most likely. But you got to win one of the two regardless if you want to even have a shot at 11-1 in the playoffs. You got to. And that Clemson one is just a monstrous game.
Yeah, even that Clemson, if Notre Dame loses to Wisconsin earlier in the year, gets upset one game, if they can beat Clemson with Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence and Dabo Swinney in the middle of their prime, they'll prove a lot of people wrong. I'm going to go a long way for doing that. We definitely want to make it in the playoffs and win a championship first, but proving those people wrong and getting more respect, that would be huge. But this is we're just kind of firing off the hip. Got a few notes on all these games. Definitely when it gets to heart of college football season, which we all hope there is going to be a college football season, we'll be able to do a more in-depth analysis about all these teams. And a couple weeks in, we'll know which teams are actually good, which ones aren't, and that'll kind of change our predictions. We'll give you kind of more in-depth scores. But I have Notre Dame going 11-1, kind of right there in the playoff bubble. These last 3 years have been awesome, how good they're doing. They just need to get over that hump, take it to the next level, and we'll see if they can. What, you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, hope there's a season. These locations might change too. You never know. Playing in Ireland, if they can even go overseas to play, but it's going to be a big question mark. We hope there's a college football season for sure, and that Notre Dame establishes their dominance. Yeah,
you're hit on one other thing is Notre Dame and Navy playing in Ireland. We don't know if that's going to take place. We haven't got anything saying it's not yet. But Notre Dame, here's the thing, if you guys are big diehard Notre Dame fans, every other year Notre Dame plays a home game at home, and then the other years Notre Dame plays at a neutral site against Navy, whether that's the Meadowlands, whether that's in Baltimore, whether it's in Ireland. Notre Dame has never, I think they played like 93 times. Notre Dame has never played at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium against Navy. Few reasons, because if they schedule Navy, they can play any neutral site they want. Navy's not going to say no to that. Right. And then it only holds like 35,000. So that might be an option to play there or play in South Bend. So it'd be really cool to see them play that one game in almost 100-year history there. But we'll see. I mean, it's a little over 100 days until Notre Dame actually plays. So they'll be here before you know it. Mm-hmm. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I have Notre Dame 11-1, Matthew 10-2. Thank you guys for watching.